Hello, and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Martin O'Neill. Several representatives from local government entities held a joint meeting on April 23rd to inform the public and local organizations about how Senate Bill 1 could impact residents in Bloomington and Monroe County. Bloomington Mayor Carrie Thompson started the meeting.
So we're not here asking for your specific advocacy for or against a bill. We're here to help you understand what this bill really means and how we as leaders in the community are approaching the bill as we move forward now that we understand what's within that bill.
Reedy Financial Group managing partner Eric Reedy was invited to help explain the impacts of Senate Bill 1. He explained how the bill reduces property taxes.
But to get into the specifics of Senate Bill 1, basically what happened is about a month and a half ago, House Bill 1402 was rolled into Senate Bill 1. And from there, the Ways and Means Committee met a couple of times, and the original House Bill 1402 got shrunk into what we see today. So I know that in a packet that I received, there's a memo that we prepared that looks like this, and we just summarize the different parts. And to begin with, there's deductions to your property assessments that will have major impacts on what taxpayers pay on their tax bill, and then conversely what local units of governments receive in property taxes. And the very first one is the homestead deduction.
Reedy explained a new tax deduction included in the bill, which focused on rentals, multifamily housing, and retirement homes.
And that'll be fully phased in by 2032. So that's another one. And what this does is it'll reduce the city, the schools, the counties, every overlapping unit's tax base is what these deductions do. So the question is, how much are these deductions? And we know for the city in particular that the deductions on 1% and 2% equals $1.5 billion. And the net assessed value right now is about $5.5 billion. So big numbers is what we're talking about.
Thompson said that they don't know yet how the bill will affect the city of Bloomington, but said the city won't be able to do more with less.
From the administration's perspective at the city, obviously this is all brand new information. We do have to do a property by property evaluation to determine what exactly our plan can be and where we're going to go. And so I know most of you here have the questions, does this mean significant cuts at the city? Does it mean that we absolutely are asking for new lit? The answer is we really need to carefully look at this, but we cannot do more with less. I can tell you that my administration has been laser focused on making sure that we are running a really efficient government. And so if we have less, we won't be able to do as much. And that is very clear to me. So we have to, the great thing is we have the most creative team in the state. So I know that we will be able to do incredible things with what we do have, and we will be looking at how we can provide the services that Bloomington needs, absolutely focused on basic city services first, and then being able to ensure that we can do many of these quality of life pieces that we've all come to really count on in the city. I want to be clear that when our federal administration speaks about tax cuts, what they're talking about is really saving money for the very wealthy. And this bill is really mimicking that. So our state is falling in line. And every time any taxes are increased, what I hear from the people of Bloomington, all of whom got our property taxes in our mailboxes last week, is, wow, this hurts. And I know there are plenty of people in Bloomington that are okay and don't understand that the taxes that have increased are hitting the people on fixed incomes and people who don't have high wealth, but they very much are. And so I take that very seriously when we're talking about potential lit increase, and we are going to have to make ends meet at the city.
Thompson highlighted that the federal and state governments making the tax cuts hurts the working poor and only benefits those that are wealthy. Council member Peter Iverson said that the council is fiscally responsible for the county and that they are taking the situation seriously.
Today, I want to talk to you about how concerned the county is and how seriously we are taking the analysis that needs to be done. The first thing I'll point out is in this room, we have the county assessor, the county treasurer, and the county auditor. The entire financial team is in this room. That is how seriously we are taking this. I will also point out that tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the Nat U. Hill room, the Long-Term Finance Committee of the Monroe County Council will be meeting. Financial Solutions Group will be providing a county-oriented analysis. That is going to be, again, tomorrow at 11 a.m. in the Nat U. Hill. Councilmember Liz Feidel is on that body, and she's in the room today as well. The county is concerned, and we are taking this seriously. I do not have in-depth analyses that I'm going to go through line by line and talk to you about what the impact is going to be on your individual tax bills. But what I do want to talk about is three things. Number one, the way that the county deals with inflationary pressures is through our maximum growth levy quotient, or the MLGQ. We are watching this pretty carefully. During the way that this bill walked through the legislature, we were pretty concerned that there was going to be some drastic changes to that. We're somewhat cautiously optimistic the way it turned out, but we're keeping our eye on that. We are very concerned about the way that the federal tariffs are continuing to play not only short-term but long-term havoc on our local economy, and so that's going to be an important thing for us to look at. Clearly, local income tax is a major topic. I completely agree with Mayor Thompson that this is going to involve a higher level of collaboration. I will point out that the Chamber of Commerce came to the County Council meeting last night and gave a very prescient comment that we are all one community. Our kids go to the same schools. They play in the same soccer teams. They play in the same baseball teams. We are going to figure this out. And I think it's really instructive that we're all sitting at the same table. The last point that I'll make, and these 3 points that are going to be talked about tomorrow at 11, is property tax. We are deeply, deeply concerned about this. Tens of millions of dollars in lost revenue to the county. We need to do some more in-depth analysis, and clearly the players that are going to be helping us with that analysis are in this room. So let me conclude by saying the county is working very closely with the elected officials who are in this room, as well as Financial Solutions Group and our partners at the Association of Indiana Counties to do the analysis quickly so that we can get information to you so we can assess the impacts. We remain in the county council optimistic that we are going to be able to get through this together. We think that we have the right people in place to get through this together. And I want to leave you with that optimism that this is a major reorganization of the way that we do fiscal policy. However, there are the right people in the right positions to handle this situation right now. Thank you.
Representing the Monroe County Community School Corporation, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Alexis Harmon, explained that due to the bill, the school corporation will have to share the funds generated by their referendums with charter schools. Harmon said they are expecting significant budget cuts that will be challenging.
Good morning. I'm Alexis Harmon, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for Monroe County Community School Corporation. Thank you so much for including us in this panel discussion. And I just hearing all of the comments that people have about the importance of education in a community and the community's vitality. Of course, MCCSE is proud of the excellent work we've done to educate our students and are very concerned about the impacts related to Senate Bill 1. This will impact any of our funds related to taxes, so that's our operations fund as well as our referenda fund. We're still analyzing the impacts and what that means. Right now, we're looking at probably $17 million in losses over the next 3 years. In addition to those financial losses, SB1 also puts in some stipulations related to referenda. As you know, in MCCSC, we are so grateful for our community to say education is important, and we're willing to spend money on that and to increase our taxes so that we can have excellent education. So we have referenda here. But starting in 2028, according to Senate Bill 1, we will start sharing referenda funds with charter schools. They have also changed to that any referenda-related question has to be in a general election, so it would have to be in November. We can no longer run referenda in May. So those are two things that we're also looking at as we go forward. We're really, in our discussions, very much focused on how do we continue to provide the level of excellent service that we do to our students and continue to deliver. That's of the utmost importance for us.
At the end of the meeting, Mayor Thompson also encouraged the public to stay informed. The Monroe County Community School Corporation Board of Trustees held a public meeting on April 22nd. The hearing was on a project that would include facility improvements, renovations, equipment, and technology purchases. Interim Superintendent Dr. Markay Winston explained the educational need for the project.
Thank you, President Hennessy. The educational need for the project. As we all know, strong schools contribute to the strength and economic vitality of every community. Approximately 8 years ago, in 2017, the MCCSE Board and Administration hired CSO architects to conduct a facility review in order to gather up-to-date information to understand corporation-wide facilities needs. During the ensuing years, we have continued to work closely with CSO architects to update that facility study so that we can continue to plan in order to design, build, and sustain excellence, with respect to having state-of-the-art facilities throughout our community. Since 2017, our Operations Fund, previously referred to as the Capital Projects Fund, has continued to be pressured due to a number of funding restraints, legislation, circuit breaker, and additional pressures on the Education Fund. As a result, it is imperative that we look out over the next 10 years to proactively determine the amount of money that we will need to sustain and maintain our buildings in alignment to our academic needs. Tonight, we will be asking for an approval of a project that would allow us the flexibility to renovate and improve facilities throughout the school corporation, including upgrades to safety and security systems, classrooms, for example, pathways, STEM, performing arts, and others, site and athletic improvements, facility upgrades, and the purchases of equipment and technology enhancements. The renovations and improvements that we seek would be done without an increase to the historical debt service rate, the historical debt service tax rate. Overview of the project to meet the education needs, cost, and timing. As you will hear from our municipal advisors, Baker Tilly, we have a plan to maintain and sustain our buildings for a maximum borrowing amount of $221,620,000 without an increase to the historical debt service tax rate. This maximum borrowing amount will be issued over the next 10 years as needs arise. We realize that better facilities provide better environments for student learning. As such, we will hold strategic facilities meetings with our patrons, our parents, our teachers, our staff, our administrators to better listen with the goal of better understanding the wants and needs of our community while always recognizing the need to conserve tax dollars as being paramount.
The board will hold another public hearing on the project on April 29th. Later in the meeting, the board discussed a teacher petition. Monroe County Education Association President Jenny Coutura spoke on behalf of the teachers union. She said that 500 teachers signed a petition asking for the board to create a new policy to allow for discussion of staff reductions.
My name is Jenny Noble-Kuchera, and I am the president of the Monroe County Education Association, and as such, the exclusive representative speaking on behalf of our teachers union tonight. As you are aware, the Indiana General Assembly has passed legislation that takes critical funding away from Indiana's public schools. This, combined with decreased student enrollment, leaves us all in a terrible position. As our employers, you may need to lose employees through more than natural retirements and resignations. Currently, the Monroe County Community School Corporation does not have a reduction in force policy. Let me be clear that when it comes to issues of transferring, looking at criteria, our discussion between MCEA and MCCSE is effective. It's productive, it is working, and we expect real success to this end. The ask tonight is that we have almost 500 signatures. These are the originals. And we are calling on MCCSE's school board to honor using our discussion policy to then develop and adopt a policy that will look at potential reductions in force, unfortunately, as we may need them to occur in the months or years to come. Such a policy will, of course, meet the needs of our students and schools and honor our teachers' expertise and work experience, and be enshrined in MCCSE board policy. Thank you so much.
This comes after Senate Bill 1 passed, reducing property taxes, thus reducing the school corporation's income and its ability to sustain its current staff. Board President April Hennessy explained the purpose of the policy that is being requested by the union.
It is essentially an ask that the process of discussion is used to create a policy around the factors by which a teacher would be, according to what she said at the podium, reduced if there were reductions in force.
Or transferred.
Well, yes, I'm just saying what she said. She said that the process as it exists already is working for transfers and things of that nature. So I think specifically she called out reductions in force.
Hennessy gave more clarification as to what current policies are in place regarding negotiations with the union.
So what I do understand are a couple of things. One, there are certain statutes that must be followed or upheld by law when it comes to reduction in force by the state of Indiana. So those things exist, and we can figure out what they are. I think one of them is that the defining characteristic cannot be tenure or something like that. Is this correct? Okay. Two, for our two new board members and for the public, we do have a policy on the books currently that allows for discussion between both AFSCME and the MCEA. So things like the factors for reduction in force, for instance, or for transfers or for whatever it might be, those things have already been in discussion.
The MCC Board of Trustees will meet again on May 20th. At their meeting on April 22nd, the Bloomington Board of Public Works heard an update on the College and Walnut Corridor Study. The update included expanding the number of intersections that would be included in the study. Ryan Roebling, with Planning and Transportation, discussed the updates.
This is an addendum to the contract that we started in 2023, or maybe it was 2022, and we completed most of the work there, but when we hit a roadblock when we were aiming to complete our project, and we would like to analyze an additional 23 intersections over the 4 that were originally selected to analyze. in order to ensure that turning movements and traffic through those intersections will be viable with either of the two alternatives we come up with. There's a potential one-way option, a potential two-way option, and then obviously there's the maintain option. We haven't selected one of those yet, and we need this analysis essentially to help make that decision of what option is the best option. So this $90-ish $4,000 will help us have Tool review that data and come up with the best alternative. It'll also do a 2D rendering, which is something we didn't originally plan for. A lot of questions we got from stakeholders and the public was, what will it look like? And that was a great question. We thought more generalized concepts would work, but I think for something this big, an actual 2D version of every intersection was important, so we added that in, and hopefully we'll get a really good product and know what direction we should go in. So.
Board member Elizabeth Caron asked whether the added intersections would be alongside or included with the original 4 intersection. Roebling responded.
Yeah, so it's every remaining intersection. We looked at 4, and then we're going to just do every other intersection that was not originally looked at in order to have a complete picture of the corridor. Traditionally, you wouldn't do that on a corridor study. You would just look at the major intersections, something like 3rd Street or 17th. But the question was so important for the potential changes, especially multimodal, that we were like, let's just do all of them.
Multiple questions were also raised about changes to traffic patterns. The changes in traffic patterns have not yet been decided. The addendum to the updated contract was approved. The next Board of Public Works meeting will be held on May 6th. On Tuesday, April 22nd, the Monroe County Council discussed an amendment to the salary ordinance for the role of Health Services Director at the Monroe County Health Department.
It has third world outcomes in maternal and fetal deaths, loss of life expectancy, poor access to primary care, and substance use treatment. The money was not to be used for routine county services, but as an investment to improve our base funding, modernize our governance structure, and recruit an adequate workforce. During a recent rainstorm, I stood in the men's restroom of the Health Services building and found a river of water flowing into a trash can, flood damage in a crowded basement, and a second story under roof but unused due to lack of funding. To host an open house for this county council, the board members had to pitch in their own money to buy refreshments. Our space for public board meetings is a 12 by 15 foot room, and at this last meeting there were 17 people crowded into that room, some of them standing due to lack of space. We need a reasonable savings account in the health department to buffer the ups and downs in state and federal funding.
Councilmember Pete Iverson affirmed his stance on the motion, arguing that the role was soundly evaluated to be at a current 35-hour designation.
And something that Councilmember Hawk alluded to was this is indeed the 3rd time that WIS has evaluated this position, and all 3 times it came back as 35 hours Pat D. I see, even when we tweaked the job descriptions, it came back as 35 hours Pat D 3 times. So I think that where we're at right now with the 35 hours Pat D, same as the other managers in that job description, I think that's exactly where this needs to be, and I'll be voting that way tonight.
In a public comment, former Health Department employee Christine Brackenhoff disagreed with the Health Department's assessment of the salary ordinance, saying that it was the job description and duties rather than the pay that might impede the hiring process.
I doubt that salary is the deterrent factor for potential applicants. Regarding the health services director position, my 2 cents is that this somewhat sounds like a unicorn, an administrative figure who is also a nurse going to provide clinical services and going to oversee 10 plus employees who range in specialty from maternal and child health, harm reduction, tobacco cessation, disease intervention, and more. That's a heavy kaleidoscope for one quote unquote middle manager. As I understand, WIS had a hard time finding a position to compare this to. If that's abnormal, then maybe this position isn't extremely marketable.
She also addressed what she saw as the quote, elephant in the room, unquote, which was the turnover rate and culture at the county health department.
If health department leadership wants to attract and retain strong candidates, then I really think they need to reckon with their reputation and culture. I never saw recent health department leaders display passionate advocacy for futures, which I will note had 2 nurses who administered intramuscular injections to treat STDs supported by federal funding. I have seen health department leaders point fingers at employees, partners, and members of county government. More than one has emphasized that they are frustrated, yet don't fully understand county processes. Ensuring fairness among government personnel is not at odds with our community's health. Thank you.
The motion ultimately failed with a 5-2 vote. The Monroe County Council will meet again on May 13th. And that's all for CATSweek. Thanks for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Martin O'Neill.